Hi guys, and welcome again to another episode of Ethical Investing with the Urban Hippie. One of the questions that's often asked of me, and I had someone send me an email on this just this morning, is when do we know, or how do we determine when to fix interest rates? Of course, once you start or embark on your property investment journey and you start to build your portfolio, this is one of the questions foremost in everyone's mind, is when do we fix interest rates? So let's have a look at that. We'll just workshop that question for a little while today. Interest rates are controlled by the Reserve Bank, and it's based fundamentally on our inflation or our economy, our gross domestic product. So when our economy is slow, the interest rates are low. So the Australian economy is, by and large, is fairly stable. Politically, we are a very stable country. In fact, we've had 5 political coups in the last 5 years, and no one seems to care. It's, you know, who's in Parliament today, who's the Prime Minister today. So it's really interesting that we do have and do enjoy a very stable political environment and landscape in Australia. And so from an economical point of view, our economy in Australia at the moment is very, very slow. And so if we look at our economy based on gross domestic product, of the gross domestic products in our country, iron ore is number 1. In fact, iron ore is so much as at number 1 that the other 9 put together still don't make up as much as iron ore. So the top 4, if we just have a look at the top 4, gross domestic products for Australia, iron ore is number 1, number 2 is coal, liquid natural gas is number 3, and number 4 is education. At the moment I'm in Melbourne, and the number 1 gross domestic product for Victoria is education. We're seeing a lot of people sending their sons and daughters from China and India, the 2 largest human resource countries in the world, to Australia to be educated. And but iron ore is more than the other 9 put together. If you want some further evidence of that, the wealthiest woman in the world, Gina Rinehart, the daughter of Lang Hancock, and Lang Hancock was a founder of iron ore mining in Australia. He was originally a pastoralist, and back in the early 60s discovered iron ore in the McDonnell Ranges, and by the 90s iron ore Australia had gone from being primarily a pastoralist economy. In fact, in the 80s our number 1 export was sheep and wool. We were, if you might remember, the tagline was we were riding on a sheep's back, and our number 1 trading partner was Iran. To today, our number 1 trading partner is China, and our number 1 gross domestic product is iron ore. So if iron ore makes up and look, Gina Rinehart is wealthier than the other next to 9 billionaires put together. Again, iron ore is huge in our gross domestic product. So it's really simple. If we bring this back to basics, and as I've said and you've seen in my earlier episodes or other episodes, everything I talk about is balance. So what we're talking about here is just keeping it back to its lowest common denominator. So if iron ore, and if we have a look at iron ore in 2008, iron ore was trading at roughly $280 a tonne US. That was during the GFC. Australia was riding on one of the greatest resource booms we've ever seen. In fact, if Australians had to switch their TVs off, we wouldn't have even known there was a GFC. And we'll discuss that later, as how that's impacted on property investment in this country. But today, iron ore is trading below its cost of production. The cost of production for iron ore is roughly $55 a tonne. And today, and I'm coming to you, this is in the 1st of April. This is not an April Fool's joke, by the way, in 2016. And today, iron ore is trading at around $40 a tonne US. So it's well below the cost of production. Okay, so every morning when I get out of bed, I go, mirror, mirror on the wall, what's the price of iron ore? And if it's not trading above the cost of production, then interest rates in Australia are going nowhere. And that's what I look at. It's that simple. We don't need a degree in economics to see this. If Australia is trading in deficit, then our economy is slow and our interest rates are low. In fact, I believe the Reserve Bank has stated only recently that we're probably looking at another interest rate drop towards the end of this year. So now, the other thing that we look at here is that cash is a commodity. So if cash is a commodity, while it's cheap, buy lots of it. And we go out and put it into an income-producing asset. So while we're buying below 5% or around 5%, then we want to be getting it into property with a 7% or above. It's that simple. These are very, very basic numbers, and that's what we're looking at. And by the way, guys, since 1987, where we had, and again in 1981, the highest interest rates this country's ever seen at 18.5%, it's been a steady track downwards to 2016, where we have the lowest cash rate that this country has ever seen. We've never had a cash rate at 2% of reserve. In fact, I believe the last time it was this low was around the 1966 mark at 3.5%. So enjoy it while it's lasting. While we have cash as a commodity in Australia that's so cheap, let's get out there, get it, and leverage that into income-producing property. Thank you very much, and I look forward to seeing you again at our next ethical investing episode. Cheers.